What happens after Act 4? Well, until now you had to repeat the entire campaign again before you could face the endgame. But after adding Act 4, the game is far too long to make you do that. We needed something else to do in between the end of Act 4 and the endgame. So what else could we do? Add 3 new mini-acts, of course, and we're calling them the Interludes. The Interludes are a set of 3 temporary side stories that will be included in the game until Act 5 is released, that will take you to level 65 where the endgame can begin. The first interlude sends you on a journey back to Ogham. Renly has been leading the efforts to rebuild Ogham Village after the defeat of Count Geonor, but there's a new danger afoot. The nearby town of Holton is surrounded by an impenetrable darkness, and each night their corrupted townfolk emerge to raid the local farmlands. You'll discover new areas and new bosses.
Oh nice, das sieht echt gut aus.
You'll need to find your way through the darkness, uncover the source of corruption,
Soon you will serve our master.
and defeat it.
Yes, I shall dance with their corpse.
And that's just the first interlude.
Okay.
The second interlude will have you return to the Vasteri Desert, where Asala has been given a sacred duty. When the skies align, the gifting of water requires a chosen Sekima to meet with the Selkari, guardians of the sacred water, but they're nowhere to be found. You will need to track down the Selkari, find those responsible for disrupting the gifting, fight even more new bosses,
Oh nice. Ja, okay, den...
discover the secrets of the ancient ritual, discover new locations,
Recycelt, ne? Der Boss. Aus Akt 1.
and ultimately help Asala carry out her sacred duty. Now for Interlude 3. As Royal Thaumaturge of the Vaal, Doyani had plans within plans to save his people from the cataclysm perpetuated by Atzeri's lust for power. One such plan involved sealing a group of willing Vaal deep in a great mountain vault near the home of the Asmeri, deep
Das
enough to
sieht
survive the
aus
cataclysm.
wie...
Even though thousands of years have passed, he believes that their
Diablo
descendants may
2.
still live, and may be key to defeating the beast.
Horrorgard?
The journey up the mountain will be dangerous.
Vergessen.
New foes stand in your way,
Da wo die Barbaren
and the
leben.
further up the mountain you venture, the colder it will become. Explore caves of ice, and enter the vault
Das sieht
itself.
echt nice aus.
Who can say what you will
Harrogard.
find within?
Harrogard hieß das.
The interludes are 6 to 7 areas each, and generally include 4 boss fights as well. When you put that together with Act 4, that adds up to 35 new areas in the campaign, and 24 new bosses. It's worth making clear that the interludes are temporary. When Act 5 and 6
Okay.
are added, the interludes will be going away. These are
Oh,
side
course.
stories after all. But don't worry, the bosses and areas that make up the interlude are all part of the endgame. We're not just
Oh,
going to throw
nice.
them away.
Ja. Ist
And
auch
with
besser
that,
so.
we don't
Ist
need
aber
cruel difficulty
unnötig.
anymore. We do know that it was a pretty big chore to have to play through the campaign multiple times on each character, and this was a huge reason that the campaign could feel like a bit of a slog when playing through again. But we do also have another new feature to address that particular concern as well.
Okay.
So let's talk about sprinting.
Okay.
In 030, when you hold down the dodge roll button, your character will go into a sprint after they finish the roll. This is available on all character classes, and there's no limitation on how long you can sprint for. The primary purpose of this feature is to make navigating areas faster when out of combat. Because of that, if you do take a hit while sprinting, you'll fall to the ground. The best
Okay.
idea is to use a skill when you see monsters. That'll break you out of the sprint so you can engage with no danger.
Nice. Guck mal, Chat, Junge.
If you do need to run away from monsters,
Wie?
just hold spacebar. You won't be vulnerable during the roll, and you're faster while sprinting than basically any monster in the game,
Das ist
allowing you
huge.
to retreat
Das
from
ist so
combat.
gut, Junge.
Sprint is a pretty significant change to PoE 2's
Das
gameplay.
ist so gut.
What
Das
I like
ist so-
most about it is that we can accelerate the pace of the game for those who want that, without having to compromise on PoE 2's more visceral combat systems.
Richtig.
Okay, so that's the new extensions to the campaign, but there's a whole giant league to play through as well. I'll leave that to Mark to talk about later. And that's because what I want to talk about now is the new stuff for your characters. And probably one of the biggest new systems here is with the support gems. Now, support gems are one of the most interesting elements to creating a build. They're what enables so many interesting mechanics and different ways to play.
Ja.
But PoE 2's support gem system has just never been quite right. One of the major issues is the limitation of
Richtig
only having
weird
one
an.
support gem of each type on your character.
Ja.
We didn't want builds to just become using the same 5 most powerful supports in every skill. The problem with this design, though, is that it's actually working against using multiple skills in your build.
Yeah.
If you can only use each support gem on one skill, it means that you're encouraged to go all in on that one ability.
Yeah.
And we want to encourage you to combo your abilities.
Richtig.
Something needed to change. So with that in mind, we've removed the restriction of having one of each support gem per character. You can now use as many copies as you like.
Nice.
This
Nice.
should drastically increase the amount of
Chat,
possible builds
wie, Junge,
and
wie.
increase the amount of skill diversity.
Wie.
There are a lot of potential builds that suffered from the previous restriction.
Yeah.
For example, a poison build previously couldn't add poison to more than one skill.
Yeah.
They couldn't use stacking poison on more than one skill either. This severely limited your ability to combo with
That's
anything
so
outside
good.
of the specifically designed poison archetype, but now you can. Many utility skills previously couldn't scale to endgame because the supports that would make them scale were more useful to use in other skills.
Yeah.
You would never speed up killing Palm with martial tempo when you would
No.
much rather use it on your primary skill instead.
Richtig.
There are more examples like this all over the place. In addition to that, though, we thought there wasn't enough feeling of progression in the supports as you went through the game. There were only 3 tiers of supports, and many of the most important ones were given out at Tier 1. Also, there were no strict upgrades, meaning that upgrading supports when you ran out of sockets required quite a lot of thinking. In order to solve these issues, we now also have multiple levels of many supports as you go through the game.
Okay, das
For
ist
example,
gut.
double barrel support gives you an extra bolt, but at the cost of 30% less reload speed. At Tier 2, the penalty gets lowered to 20%. But then at Tier 3, the support gem gets something new. It now reloads automatically when you heavy stun an enemy. In some cases, the highest tiers might work a little differently, and you'll have to decide if you like the upgrade or not, depending on your build. For example, rapid casting. The first couple of levels gives 15, then 20% increased cast speed.
Okay.
But then at Tier 3, it changes to a new approach. For each different spell you cast in the last 8 seconds, you get 10% increased cast speed, which could be a pretty big bonus if you use a lot of different spells.
Ja, das ist
So
eigentlich
that's pretty
ziemlich
good
nice.
for upgrades through the campaign, but we wanted to add a little more spice to the endgame for supports too.